I was just about to fall asleep when I heard it. At first, it was soft, a gentle whisper, like a breeze brushing against the trees. But then it grew louder, more urgent, like someone was standing right by my bed. It called my name. Nneka, Nneka. I opened my eyes, my breath catching in my chest. The room was still, but something wasn't right. The shadows in the corner of the room seemed to move of their own accord, like they were alive. I froze. There, in the farthest corner, something was watching me. I couldn't see it clearly, but I felt it. Something dark, something old. Nneka. The voice called again, louder, almost growling now. It was no longer just a whisper, it was as if the air itself was speaking to me, beckoning me to come closer, to fall under its spell. My heart raced. My body didn't obey. Fear rooted me to the bed. I couldn't move. And I knew, without a doubt, that this was no ordinary voice. Nneka, come closer. The voice whispered again, but this time, it was closer. Right next to my ear. I wanted to scream, but my voice wouldn't come out. My body wouldn't move. It felt like my very soul was being held captive in that moment. I knew something was wrong, something ancient and dark was calling me. This wasn't a dream. It was a warning. And if I didn't listen, I'd lose more than just my mind. That was the night I nearly lost my soul. I've lived my whole life in Nigeria, in the quiet town of Enugu. I was familiar with the stories, the ones that mothers whisper to their children at night, to warn them of evil spirits and curses. This wasn't a regular ghost or demon. This was something far more ancient, far more dangerous. My grandmother used to tell me stories about the Ndebele, a tribe from southern Africa known for their spiritual power. But it wasn't just their strength that made them feared. It was their ghosts. The hungry ghosts, she called them, spirits that could reach across the veil between life and death, seeking out souls to devour. If you heard them whisper your name, you were already marked. And now, as the whisper echoed in my ears, I realized that it had found me. The next morning, I told my best friend Afi about the strange voice. She listened, her face growing pale with every word. You didn't, she said, her voice tight with fear. You didn't invite it in, did you? What do you mean? I asked, feeling a chill crawl up my spine. Afi pulled me aside, lowering her voice. The Ndebele spirits aren't like the others. They don't just appear. They are summoned. And once they've called you, you can't run. They'll follow you until they get what they want. I felt my stomach drop. The fear in her eyes was enough to make me question everything I thought I knew about spirits. I didn't ask for this, I whispered. You didn't have to, Afi said grimly. You're marked now. We need to figure out how to stop it, before it's too late. That night, the whisper returned. But this time, it wasn't just a whisper. It was a voice, and full of hunger. Nneka. It rasped, so close that I could feel its cold breath on my neck. I bolted upright, my heart pounding. I called for help but no one could hear my voice. The room felt colder than it should have been, and shadows seemed to dance on the walls. I grabbed my pillow and pressed it to my face, hoping to drown out the sound of the voice. But it was no use. The voice continued, growing louder, more insistent. Nneka, come to me. I couldn't ignore it anymore. This wasn't a normal dream or a hallucination. Something had followed me from beyond the veil. The next morning, I woke up feeling wrong. My body felt heavy, like I had been carrying something invisible all night. The air in my room was thick, and it felt like I was being watched, even when no one was there. Afi came over to visit, and I told her everything. Her face went pale as I spoke, and I could see the fear in her eyes. We need to do something, Afi said. This is serious. You can't just ignore it. What do I do? I asked, panic rising in my chest. Afi looked around the room, as if searching for something. We need to find someone who understands the Ndebele spirits. Someone who can protect you. Afi knew of a man, an elder in her village, who was said to have the power to speak to spirits. He was a shaman, someone who had the wisdom of many lifetimes. Reluctantly, I agreed to go with her. When we arrived at the shaman's hut, it felt like we had stepped into another world. The air was thick with incense, and the walls were lined with old talismans and charms. The shaman, an old man with eyes like burning coals, looked at me for a long moment before speaking. "You are marked," he said, his voice low and grave. "The Ndebele spirit has already claimed part of you. You must act quickly if you wish to save your soul." My heart skipped a beat. "What do I need to do?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. "You must face it. The hungry ghost feeds on fear. If you allow it to control you, it will devour your soul entirely." The shaman gave me a small, carved amulet to wear around my neck. "This will protect you from the ghost influence," he told me. "But it is not foolproof. You must find the source of its power." I returned home, clutching the amulet. But I didn't feel safe. The whispering voice was louder now, always just at the edge of my hearing. The shaman had spoken of finding the source of the spirit's power, but where would I even begin? I suggested that we search for old stories, old legends. Maybe there was something we had missed, some detail that would help us understand how to banish the spirit once and for all. After days of searching, we stumbled across a strange legend. It spoke of an ancient burial site, hidden deep in the forest, where the Ndebele had once summoned their spirits. We didn't waste any time. That night, we gathered what little we could, candles, herbs, offerings, and ventured into the forest. The air grew thick with dread as we walked deeper into the forest. The moon was hidden behind clouds, and every crack of a branch felt like a warning. The whispers, they were louder now. They followed us, growing closer with every step. "Nneka, come to me." I felt a coldness crawl down my spine. It wasn't just the wind. It wasn't just in my head. Something was following us. We ventured into the forest that night, the moon barely visible behind the thick clouds. The air was thick with the smell of earth and decay. Every step seemed to echo in the silence. As we approached the burial site, I could feel the presence of something, watching, waiting. The shadows were moving again, and I could hear the whispering voice calling my name. "Nneka," it said, softer now. But I knew it wasn't just my name. It was calling me to the grave. When we reached the burial site, I saw it. The hungry ghost. It was not human. It was a mass of shadow and hunger, its eyes hollow pits, its mouth a gaping maw. The spirit's form twisted and writhed in the air, growing and shrinking like it was unsure of its own shape. "Nneka," it whispered again, but this time, the voice was loud enough to make the ground tremble. "Nneka, you belong to me. You have come to feed me." I tried to move, but my legs wouldn't obey me. I was paralyzed, trapped in its gaze. I stepped forward, chanting something under her breath. I could feel the energy shift, the spirit recoiling as if it were in pain. AFI's chant grew louder, and the ghost began to scream, a horrible, guttural noise that shook the trees around us. The ground beneath us trembled, and I felt as though I might be swallowed whole by the earth. "Nneka, you must fight it," AFI shouted. I don't know how, but I found the strength to move. I reached into my pocket and pulled out the amulet the shaman had given me. I held it up, the small carving glowing faintly in the moonlight. The ghost recoiled, its form shifting violently. But it didn't stop. The ghost was stronger than I had imagined. I could feel it pulling at me, trying to tear me apart from the inside out. "Please," I cried, clutching the amulet. "What do you want from me?" The ghost eyes fixed on mine, and in that moment, I understood. It wasn't just after my life. It wanted my soul. The amulet began to glow with a faint light. In a moment of clarity, I remembered the shaman's words. The spirit feeds on fear. You cannot give in. You must take control, or you will be lost forever. I forced myself to stand tall. I wasn't going to let this thing take me. Not without a fight. I closed my eyes, took a deep breath, and for the first time in what felt like forever, I stopped being afraid. The moment I stopped fearing the ghost, the shadows seemed to freeze. The air grew still. The hungry ghost screamed, a terrible, anguished sound. But as it screamed, it began to break apart, its dark form unraveling, its power weakening. With a final, desperate scream, the ghost dissipated. I was trembling, my heart racing, but the ghost was gone, leaving nothing but silence behind. It was over. I could feel its weight lift from my chest, like a great burden had been lifted. But I knew the cost. The amulet had protected me, but it had come at a price. I had faced the hungry ghost, and in doing so, I had opened the door to something far darker than I had ever imagined. But as the silence settled in, I knew that the battle wasn't over. The hungry ghost had been banished, but something had changed within me. I could feel its presence lingering, just out of reach, like it was still watching. Waiting. And I knew, deep down, that it wasn't truly gone. The ghost might have lost this battle, but I was still marked. Marked for life. Days passed, weeks even. But the feeling of being watched never left me. I would catch glimpses of shadowy objects out of the corner of my eye, but when I turned to look, there was nothing there. I wasn't sure if it was the ghost that had left a mark on me, or if something else was lacking, waiting for another chance to claim me. As I sat alone in my room one night, I heard it again, that whisper. Nneka. This time, it wasn't a voice. It was a feeling. And I knew then, with terrifying clarity, that the hungry ghost had not fully gone. It was still waiting. For me.